Hour 2 Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Jamie Noodles, McLennan, Dave Feschuk of the Toronto Star, and Luke Willson.
There he is.
All by himself. No partner here. No pro athlete salute.
Oh, it's tough.
Yeah, have you spoken with the O-Dog today? I haven't heard from him.
Yeah, we've been texting. I think he trusts me because I've got a couple proposals to put out there.
I understand that. Okay. We'll get to those.
Yeah.
I want to get to the bottom of how I ended up on the Green Bay game tonight, though. I asked Doogie. He couldn't even give me a straight answer. He couldn't look me in the eye.
Was it a $1,000 hand?
It 100% was. It 100% was. Doogie claims he flipped a coin. I'm like, no,
I don't understand why you're afraid to pick this team.
Because
this team has been great.
I know they have.
They've been great, and they have to play Danny DeVito, a.k.a. Tommy DeVito.
I know.
And it's less than a touchdown.
I'll tell you, I've explained this to you, and I explained it to you last week. They're the youngest team in football. They're coming off an incredibly emotional win under the lights against Kansas City at Lambeau. It scares me that they're going to go into New York. The Giants have been better recently. They were a gong show early in the season. They have actually strung together some wins and some close games.
Yeah.
This screams they get down early, and then they chase it. I think they probably win tonight. I'm just not convinced they win by a touchdown.
Then take the Giants. But
I don't want to bet against them.
Your
That's the
team
thing.
and my team. My team goes, we take the Bengals in the spread.
Right.
We take Jacksonville and London when they're playing the Bills. We have the guts to make these calls.
Well, Al's brother will join us later in this hour, and
I've got a great proposal. I think you'll like it.
I need to hear it. Well, later.
Save the proposal. I don't want to hear it right
Okay.
now. I need my representative here with me. I need Al's brother, and we will get to Al's brother a little bit later on. Let's begin with some action from yesterday, because we haven't talked NFL. We've been talking about Ohtani and the Leaf game tonight, the Raptors in action tonight. What did you make of Mahomes after the game? And his reaction to the Kadarius Toney, who's been killing this team since week one.
This guy has literally been poison for them.
Tony's been killing him since week one.
He was awful game one, and then by game three, he was back on Twitter being a hero again.
Right.
Yeah.
Now he's got to be off Twitter
And he was
again.
blatantly offside last night.
So,
like blatantly.
I'm just going to go through. I get part of where Mahomes is frustrated. What I don't agree with is it's like you blame everything on this play. They were brutal offensively. And self-inflicted. They had bad drops again. They had bad pre-snap penalties again. They're on different pages numerous times where Mahomes thinking guys are going to sit routes down, he doesn't throw it there, or vice versa. So the Chiefs have one person to blame but the loss, and it's themselves. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Kadarius Toney now. I'm not kidding. I started to try and think about how many times between college and the NFL, I've had to line up as a wide receiver on the line of scrimmage, and I'm going to guess it's somewhere in the thousands. It's not difficult to line up on side.
Right.
It's not difficult. And what's crazy is, especially if there's not a secondary motion, which there wasn't, and even if there is, I'll go through this, but you get on the ball, you look down, you look inside, make sure you're on the ball, and you point at the referee. Bam. You should be able to tell if you're too far forward. You can move back. You're not stuck in that position. It's not like once I get set, I'm done. If there is motion, all you got to say is you yell at your quarterback, hey, Patty, I moved. Make sure everybody's set. This is the NFL. Again, if it was a Pee-wee team, I'd understand. Maybe they get jammed up by that. It's not hard. Where Mahomes gets mad, though, and we'll go to why he's so upset, is because I've never seen that called. I know if someone was like, they've done it 11 times this year. I've seen it called on O-linemen because it's a big ordeal. But to call a wide receiver, and when Reed says they didn't give us a warning, that's very common. I know that people don't know this, but
the warning is common. Like the ref will say, hey, I'm watching you, man, you're offside.
Oh, he'll come up almost after every first drive and say, hey, like, let's say it was me. Like, they'll go up to Pete Carroll and be like, yo, 82 was really crowding the ball. If he keeps doing that, I'll call that.
Right.
And then Pete would go to the tight end coach. Tight end coach comes to me. It's all in the headset. Hey, ref gave us a warning, said you're too close to the ball. So that's where they're getting frustrated because it makes no difference. It makes no difference whether he's an inch back or not. If it's an offensive lineman, it's a completely different situation.
Line of scrimmage. And
correct.
All
that is being able to take up space or give space depending on the play. You'd be surprised how much that was a couple inches. But again, before I sit here and be like, yeah, the ref should have warned them, which I see the gripe there, it's not hard to get lined up.
Right, exactly.
But it's not hard.
I understand that, but when you're pointing over to the ref
Yes.
Like, is there chatter between the ref and the players?
Yes, all the time.
And wouldn't the ref say to the guy,
correct,
hey,
but
man,
he didn't point. That
So
was
Tony
the ref's
didn't
thing.
do it.
So, like, every
So again,
single
buffoonery
time.
from Kadarius Toney.
Buffoonery.
Yeah,
Every
he didn't
single
check
time
with
I'd
the
be
ref,
on the
essentially.
ball, not in a three-point sense. Three-point is pretty easy to be on the ball. But if I'm lined up, split out as a tight end and wide receiver, which a lot of times I would be on the ball, because especially if you have a clear-out route, you're a tight end a little slower, you want to be on the ball.
Right.
I'm putting my foot down, again, not hard, and I'm pointing at the ref. Most of the time, it's actually move up. Like, hey, move up a little bit, move up a little bit. Because
room.
you don't want
Right.
to chance doing what Kadarius Toney just did. But they will say, even if you're not looking at the ref, again, I know ball's in here, I'm looking over there, they will yell at you like, 82, move up a bit, move up. That's the communication. Or, hey, you're offside, back it up. So that's where the Chiefs get mad, is because generally speaking, most refs will tell the offensive guys if they're lined up.
Give you a heads
So,
up. Yeah.
I love the competitive nature of Mahomes. I don't have an issue with him freaking out. I actually kind of advocate for it. I think Andy Reid fell on the sword after the game because Mahomes was acting the way he was.
Right.
Reid today has kind of circled back and been like, we were offside. We shouldn't have done that. What I take issue with is Mahomes going up to Josh Allen and complaining. Like, that to
it was
me is
weird.
outrageous, and there's tape of it. It's gone viral. Like, this guy's got 2 rings. He's been to 3 Super Bowls, a $500 million contract. They're going to the playoffs. You think Josh Allen wants to hear you complain?
No.
Like, if you're Josh Allen, you're honestly like, dude, shut your yap.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
you've crushed me here before. I'm 7-6. I'm not even in a playoff spot yet, and you're complaining
Yes.
about a call? Like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
That I take serious
Yes.
issue with.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think where Mahomes gets so enraged, and you can't tell me that these guys don't think about this stuff, is Patrick Mahomes knows that he's got a shot, in my opinion, too. I think most people, a lot of things have to play out, number one being health, that he has a shot to take over Tom Brady's record. I think that it's not a crazy thing to say. And you look at it, and I just go back to the year, what we talked about on the show numerous times, the year we beat Green Bay, we ended up losing the Super Bowl. In the NFC Championship game, it was a crazy comeback. The only reason it was at CenturyLink, now called Lumen Field, was because Green Bay got jammed up by a bad Buffalo team late in the year. I would say there's a 95% chance that the Chiefs, if they're going to go the distance this year, it's got to be on the road. Mahomes knows it's not the same team as it's been. You can clearly see that. This might sound like a crazy take, but Tony dropping the ball week 1 5 times and then not lining up on side could be the difference between Mahomes it is at Arrowhead in the AFC Championship or on the road. And that's a huge ordeal. You play an AFC or NFC Championship in this type of, imagine having to go to Baltimore versus being at home. I'm not saying they can't get it done, but it is so much harder. The next couple, again, I go back to my own time. The next couple years in Seattle, what happened? We lost to Carolina. We got blown out in the first half, came back, lost, I think, by 3 on the road. Cam Newton year. I think that was his MVP year. Next year, we lost to the infamous Falcons team on the road. Both of those games, I think if we play at home, to be honest, I think we probably would have won.
Luke Willson in studio. I'm sure you saw the video after the game where Sean McDermott got the game ball for the Bills, and they were talking up how difficult the week was, and it was because of the report that came out last week, which was an accurate report, right? Where Ty Dunn reported that back in the day, McDermott had used a 9/11 analogy for communication and teamwork, which is absurd. It still is. But what I found interesting was that Brandon Beane, the GM, was in the room. Curious how often that happens on the, like, anywhere at home or on the road, where a GM comes into the locker room after the game. But that's solidified for me. McDermott's not going anywhere in the offseason. Like, that's the coach, man. They could lose out the rest of the way. Sean McDermott's going to return in Buffalo.
I would agree with that take as well. Generally speaking, if there's a lot of bad vibes between the GM and the head coach this late in the year, he's not coming down there. But by him coming down there, I have John Snyder would come down here and there. Bob Quinn was kind of like when in Detroit, he was like Big Brother, just lurking in the shadows always. It's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But I would say that he's pretty safe. And I think that especially when the GM is so happy for the guy, like, hey, big win, I want
That's
to
a big win
show the
last night.
support.
Yep.
It was a huge win. Season saved.
Yep.
Season has been saved. I mean, they got to keep winning, but they lose last night, they're done.
Yeah.
Especially with their conference record. The tiebreaker doesn't help them. So I think that you're right on that. I think we're going to see another year of Sean McDermott. We're going to see another year of very conservative play calling. But the good news is I really believe his defensive play calling is elite. I think that if you give this defense to anyone else and the losses they've sustained, they're giving up 30 a game. And even last night, yeah, we can sit here and the Chiefs did make some bad plays, but they held them at bay.
They did.
And they've done that every week.
Well, Luke Willson in studio. The nightcap last night, that was a statement by Dallas. But does it say more about the Cowboys or the Eagles? Because the Eagles have been stopped now 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I think both. I know it's kind of a cop-out answer. The Cowboys are the real deal. Mm-hmm. The Cowboys are the real deal. And I'm not a Cowboys fan. I'm sure I'll get everybody wound up with this one. But the Cowboys are the real deal. And to me right now, and I don't have a vote, but Dak Prescott would have my vote as MVP. The guy's playing incredibly well. Yes, there's arguments there. I get that. But Dak Prescott is balling out of his mind right now. CeeDee Lamb looks like Michael Irvin. I mean, the defense is a turnover machine. My old coach Dan Quinn has these boys fired up. Micah Parsons is a menace. The run game looks a lot better. I think they ran for 138 or 128 yesterday. I mean, this team across the board plays very, very, very good football. And you have a corner in Stephon Gilmore who still got it.
He looks great, man.
He still got it.
Yeah.
So I like the Cowboys. What is strange for me about Philly right now is, and part of the reason T-Mo and Wilson lost his pick was I was like, okay, you get punched in the mouth. I've been on teams that get punched in the mouth. What do? You go back to your bread and butter. You go back to what you know. And I don't know what just happened here. My earpiece is going crazy.
Yeah, something just went on
from the bridge, pressing on a button.
Nick Sirianni's like, you were going to shut your yap right now.
So,
you all good back there, JP?
But I thought they'd come out and run the football. Mm-hmm. And you look at Swift, who I think is an elite runner in this league. And I think he had 3 yards at the half. They're down 24-6, and they come out in the third quarter, and he ends up with 41 in the night.
Right.
I'm like, how is this not the thought going into it? Hey, this is a great Dallas offense who's been scoring like crazy. Our defense has been very, very poor lately. Really,
they got torched again last night.
They've been very poor, both run and pass game over this last 4 weeks, let's call it. I got an idea. Let's keep Dak Prescott, who's an MVP favorite, off the field. We have this elite runner in Swift. We've got a quarterback who can run. I think Gainwell, their backup back, is very good. And I think their third-string guy, Boston Scott, is also a very good NFL running back. We have this veteran offensive line. Let's make this creative run game. Let's absolutely run it down their throat. But instead, it was like, hey, let's take shots on Stephon Gilmore. Hey, let's do these drop backs that we're really having a hard time processing and guys aren't getting open. I don't understand why the thought wasn't, hey, let's run the football.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, why I get nervous for Philly right now, and I think they have a ton of talent, but you look at their defense, they've been great up until about 4, maybe 5 weeks ago against stopping the run. They were the number one defense against the run, and all of a sudden they're just getting gashed.
Yeah. They're
bad.
Getting crushed here, man.
They've never been able to stop the pass, so now you're sitting here, you can't stop the pass. Everyone's running for over 100. And then you've got this offense on the other side that has no identity, and you want to, are they a shootout team? Are they a ground and pound team? So I'm not sure what's going on there. I thought it'd be very close. I wasn't sure who was going to win. I did not expect Philadelphia to just get absolutely tattooed for the second week in a row.
Okay, and everybody that knows the Cowboys is also eventually waiting for the next shoe to drop, right?
Yes.
It can't be this good, this long. Something bad's going to happen. To your point about Dak, Luke, now you're a guy that caught a football for a living.
Yeah.
You're saying Dak's your favorite for MVP.
At this moment. It's close, but yes.
Is there a world where you can see a guy named Tyreek Hill,
yes,
if he gets that 2,000 yards, becoming the first catcher of the football,
yes,
to win the MVP?
I think that if you had to ask my top 4 right now, it would be Dak. I think Brock Purdy belongs in the conversation.
He was great again yesterday.
Great again. I think CMC belongs in the conversation. He had, 142, I think, yesterday.
Great.
Didn't have any TDs, but you rush for 142, still a nice day. And Tyreek. I mean, we'll see tonight. But like the thing with Tyreek is even if they're not, methodical on offense, he's good for a 60-yard bomb every game. These are game-changing plays. You want to talk about most valuable player.
Right.
I mean, they could be down 14 points. I don't think they'll be down 14 tonight, and it's like when you have Tyreek in the game, no lead is safe.
Is this better production, though, than what Cooper Kupp supplied a couple years ago? And Kupp did not win the MVP.
I think it's
Kupp's
different.
season was absurd. 2 years ago.
And that's the thing. I think because Kupp had the crazy amount of receptions as well.
Right.
So you're sitting there, and Kupp was doing it on third down. He was scoring TDs. He had the most yards in the league. So, I mean, that was – you can't really, get much better than that. And then I say that. It's like every stat that was ever preached to me by our, analytical stat guys when they'd come in is basically you give up explosive plays. First, the most important stat is turnovers, and then the next thing would be explosive plays. And it's like, we'll see when he's all said and done. Mm-hmm. But the explosive plays they're insane.
Yeah.
Like the Dolphins have got to be top seed in the AFC, though. I think for him to have a chance at MVP. Like he needs the narrative going his way, too, that they're the best team in the AFC, the number 1 seed.
I think it's either Christmas or Christmas Eve they play Baltimore. And if Tyreek comes out and has a $120 with 2 TDs in a win in that game that locks up the 1 seed, to me, you've got to put him right there. You have to. I mean, you can't get much more value out of a wide receiver.
No.
Yeah.
He's going to have over 2,000 yards.
That's New Year's Eve they play Baltimore.
New Year's Eve,
at Baltimore. That's big, man.
Huge.
Yeah.
But isn't, when I looked at Mahomes last night, the frustration that boiled over, I think a lot of it's got to do, he's got nobody to throw it to.
Oh, for sure.
Kelsey's getting old.
Yes.
And who else has he got out there?
Rasheed Rice fumbled, Kadarius Toney can't get lined up.
Yeah, MVS can't catch anything.
MVS is, and they're just on different pages. So I do, especially in today's society, I think what happens to a lot of these superstars is it's they know how fragile things can be, especially in this league. You take a bad hit, knee, concussion, anything like that, and this thing, your trajectory, your career can be over. And everyone gets that, and they also get Tom Brady will be talked about for the next 60, 75 years. You talk about the greatest football players of all time. He's going to live on forever. The 3-time Pro Bowl quarterback in 70 years will not be chatted about. Mm-hmm. Right. And Mahomes has a shot to be that guy who is in NFL folklore if he keeps on the trend that he's on. But it's a fine line, and you said it. It's he's got what seems like no help right now. And I think the guy that is really not talked about in the media, which is very strange, is Eric Bieniemy. I mean, how come they have all these problems on offense and we don't point to the offensive coordinator? And I understand that Andy Reid's calling the plays or whatever, but I believe it's Matt Nagy. Mm-hmm. It's how come this guy's got off scot-free? Bieniemy leaves. The offense has no details. During the week, the offensive coordinator is going to be the guy installing, doing all the details, seeing them, and nobody says a word about this guy. Mm. And all of a sudden, it's man, we can't get lined up. We have drops. We have penalties. What is going on? To me, it falls at the footsteps of the coaches.
Yeah. Wow. Luke Willson in studio. You want to hear a knock-knock joke?
Oh, God.
Knock-knock.
Who's there?
There he is. Bring him in here, house brother. Part C, the pick of the year, Buffalo over Kansas City.
The pick of the year?
That's the pick of the year.
That's the pick of the year.
Dave,
pick.
You're objective, are you
It's
not?
a good pick.
I mean, that's a great pick. That's not just
pick
a good
of the year. It was a 1.5-point spread.
They needed it,
I
man.
thought his
right.
England pick was the one. What team went
I
over
don't
to
remember
England?
that one. Oh,
Yeah.
was that when we...
London, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we don't worry about that one.
That pick was good.
That one
Appreciate
didn't matter. There's been a lot of good picks, but I would say the one yesterday, and now we've won 2 in a row here, right, House Brother? We're back. We're almost in single digits. We're going to go 2-0 tonight, immaculate week next week, and everything's all square.
Can I
28 to 3.
12 now.
Now it's 28 to 12. You're right.
I hate to be. Let's talk a little common sense here.
All right,
okay,
sure.
Guys?
What do you have?
Going into Thursday's game, we're currently 2-2. No one has made any ground up. We won the Rams game. We won Thursday night.
Okay.
Okay. So you kids keep saying it's 28-12 now. It was 28-3 before Thursday. We've tied, and it's not. It's still 28-3.
It's momentum. It's field
My
goals.
thought
Feeling
here.
good.
Field goals,
Okay,
right?
and I'm ready
Field
to
goals.
wheel and deal.
Hey, what do you
really
have
am.
for us? You've been talking a big game here. What are you going to present
Well,
to
I
us?
think that there's the idea that you should ride with your pack tonight on a different line for 2 points.
Okay, but here's the thing. JP just made me aware that the line is moving down. It's now Green Bay -5.5.
Okay, we
So-
can talk
so-
about that line, but I haven't even a different proposal. See,
Okay.
I don't want to just win. I
Right.
don't want to just win. I want to frankly embarrass you guys. Okay. So right now, you said it yourself. There's 4 weeks left,
Yeah.
but with all the Saturday and Christmas games, I believe there's 27 games to pick left.
A lot of games.
So the problem is, and I think you guys can be honest here. Let's say me and O-Dog go 500. Okay, let's just say it's 28 games, so we go 7-7. That means in your 14 games, you're going to have to go 2-12 just to tie.
Yeah.
You guys got Kadarius Toney. You were almost 0 for the last 7.
No.
So my thought is, this Batman and Robin thing, or something we can talk about.
Sure.
Why don't you guys show the world, TG,
Yeah.
pick every game for the rest of the year?
You want us to pick every single
Whoa.
game.
You would have to go, if it's 28 games, you'd have to be plus 10 in 28 games, which would be a wild record.
Right. That would be, I can't do the math on the fly.
18-10 doesn't do it.
So
You'd
you
have to
guys
be-
want to recuse yourself from
You'd have to
even
go
making
19
picks.
and 19-9. Is it?
Yeah, 19 and 9, I
19 and
guess.
9.
I think there only
That
might be
would tie
27
it.
left.
That would tie it. Yeah, so it would be even better than
19
that.
and 9.
19
I
and
don't
8.
think-
We'd have to go 19 and 8
Yeah,
to win
excuse me.
outright. That's very
we only
doable.
get one
for us.
Very doable?
Incredibly doable. The way that we're seeing the board now, House brother.
But there's a but here. If I'm
Yeah.
going to give you this opportunity, I'm basically washing my hands.
Yeah, you guys are out.
There has to be a severe punishment if you don't get it done.
Well, here's my thought on this. Before you speak, House brother.
Uh-oh, you see that face he just made?
Well,
he has no
here's why I don't,
confidence.
here's why I don't think it's necessary. We're going to go 2-0 tonight. That puts us 8 down. There are 8 picks next week. 3 Saturday games, a Thursday, Sundays, Monday.
That's right.
We're going to have an immaculate week next week. This time next week, we're going to be tied.
Whoa.
Like, that's going to happen. Mark my words. Because Al's brother and I are
Facts.
seeing the board clearly, and you guys are picking awful. The Rams line
Awful?
was a joke. They've been one of the hottest teams in the NFL. The fact that was a 7.5-point line is an absolute joke. There was a layup, a
So
Doogie
you
layup.
think, again, Hayes,
A
be
Doogie
reasonable. The
layup.
segment's dying.
Lame Doogie.
No, it's not.
The
Doogie's
segment's
been
dying.
accused of some stuff lately.
That should have been Bears, Lions. You would have taken the Lions, and we
Yes.
would be -9. But Doogie made sure to hook you up.
No way. I can show you my pick'em lead. I had Bears money line in everything.
I don't believe that.
I
for a
will show
second.
you.
You're like the Blue Jays. Now you were willing to pay Otani $700 million. It's completely irrelevant.
You're
This
in.
guy gave John Morosi his info. We already saw that.
That could be true. House brother, where do you stand on all this? How are we feeling? Because I feel confident in where we're at still. I really do.
I do too. I don't think we need to do that. I think
No.
these guys know
Wow.
that they're making bad picks
Wow.
now. They went with Philly, and that
Hayes.
just that burned them. And now they
Hayes.
know we don't want to have to make
Hey,
picks.
I'm
let
not
me
worried.
float something to you.
scared.
Let me float something.
Go ahead.
If we go 500, you basically have to run the table
Which is
4 weeks
probably
in a row.
what's going to happen. now
Run
that
the
we've-
table.
Listen, we
Al's
paid a
brother gives you the worst information
That's
known to
not true.
mankind.
We paid a penance for picking Tim Boyle, right? We deserve to pay a penance. Now we're out of that. It's been paid. We've been freed, right? Al's brother with that Bills pick
That's
yesterday.
right.
Okay, then let's let the people see how
Let's
gutless
do-
you are.
let's-
9 points. 9 points.
No.
For
The
2
spread's
wins.
5.5. The spread's 5.5.
Yeah,
now.
that's 1 win. 1 win's not going to do it.
Here's what I'm saying. In-season tournament next week, 2 options.
No.
In-season tournament, we either bet them all, right? We can bet every single game, and whoever's got the better record gets
Why
5
would
points.
I want to do that?
Why not?
Because we're
In-season
up
You just
10
said you want to
points.
bury us.
Yes. Thank you, Al's brother.
You said you want to bury
You got
us.
a
So
shot
if you
tonight.
run the table next week,
Yeah.
buries us.
Okay.
There you go. In-season
right.
tournament
Yeah.
is original. Listen,
I
I'm
like
a
it.
2-time defending champ. I'm bored with the regular season. I want the in-season
I was on your
tournament.
team for once.
Well, I know, but I carried you to the final. Now I'm trying to carry him to an in-season tournament. I want the in-season tournament.
LeBron.
I'm LeBron.
You're LeBron.
Because I'm the LeBron of this show, effectively, and LeBron's done
I wish
everything now.
O'Donnell could hear this.
And I
He'd
want
be
the in-season
puking.
tournament.
Yeah.
That's
Al's
right.
brother, I have confidence in you next week for an in-season tournament. I say we either put the 8 games on the line, we could put every single game on the line. Every team's out of their bye. There's 16 games next week. We can figure that out between now and Thursday. But I refuse your bet tonight because I think we're on a heater, Al's brother. I think we pick our games. We pick a winner, they pick a loser. We wake up
You're
tomorrow.
taking Green Bay,
with Dash
5.5.
Al's brother, what do you think? Go ahead. You can make our pick, or you can at least supply some tremendous information. I can come over the top with gut instinct.
The magic number will creep tonight.
Packers,
I guarantee you.
5.5. Packers,
Look,
5.5.
there's a reason. There's a reason why this Packers number is dropping to 5.5. It's because the answer for tonight is taking the G-men. That's who we got to take tonight, Hazy
Oh
B.
my
I
God.
agree. This is a letdown
Hayes,
spot
stop.
for the Packers. No, they
Hayes.
don't suck. Go
Look at his face.
look at the injury report right now. You got Jair Alexander's out. Quay Walker's doubtful. They have a terrible run defense. Saquon Barkley's going to run the show. They'll just work the clock, and it'll be a low-scoring game. That's what I
Hayes.
think.
He's
Al's
struggling.
brother, man.
Hayes.
Killing you right now.
I know. Why couldn't
at
you?
his face.
Why
Hayes.
couldn't you give me tremendous information on the
You
Packers?
just told me that you guys will run the table if we go 500, and
Yeah.
this man just took the G-men at
I
5.5 with Danny DeVito playing quarterback.
Here's my thing on that. Go ahead, Al's brother. Go ahead.
Danny DeVito.
One more little important stat. Luke, what did you just say was the most important stat in football? What do the analytics guys
Turnovers.
tell you?
Turnovers.
Turnovers. In the last 3 weeks, the New York Giants are averaging 3.7 turnovers per game. They're takeaways, actually. Like, they're turning the ball over. They're getting the ball, getting extra
This is the
possessions.
hottest
That's
team
all you
in
need.
the NFL.
I know.
They demolished the Lions, beat Kansas City, and you're telling me today that they're not going to win by a touchdown to Danny DeVito.
Al's brother,
They are
man.
a young
You've gone
team.
from
They
Tim
are.
Boyle to Danny DeVito.
I know
Here
that,
would be
but
my argument.
speak some sense.
They've been reading their press. already.
That's my concern, Noodles.
And they're young guys.
Letdown game.
Take them.
It's party. I'm not.
Take 'em.
I'm just saying I'm concerned
I agree.
because you know how it is in sports.
I do.
You're reading on the paper, we should kill these guys. You go in and you beat Mahomes and them, you're feeling good. A few extra drinks, maybe a foot off the gas a little bit during the week because, hey, we got this. And you're right, Danny DeVito is going to be throwing the ball around.
Yes.
I'm worried about Green Bay's maturity level.
I am
That's
with you on
the
that.
only
They're,
thing
they're
that
still the
would-
I'll
youngest team
switch
in the
my
league.
offer then. I'll switch my offer.
I still think you guys should take his offer, too. That's the other
Okay,
thing.
what's the offer?
If you guys are going G-men, what do you think they win outright, Al's brother? What do you think they do? What do you think the score is?
I don't think they win outright, but
What do you
I'm
think the score
thinking
is?
24-20 maybe is the score. I'm thinking 4-point game. That's about where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I'll give you G-men 3.5 for 2 wins.
Al's brother, man. I
Look at that. Look at that. I'll give you G-men 3.5 for 2 wins. You guys need it. You need
we
it
do,
back.
Al's brother. We do. But if this was reverse and it was Packers minus 3.5, I would take it for 2.
Yeah.
If you give us points directed towards the Packers, I'll take.
Why
the
would
Packers.
I do
but
that?
Exactly.
I
but
think
why
the
would we
Packers
shade
win by
points?
20.
No, you
I think Jordan Love is the next Aaron Rodgers.
No, you don't.
He just took Steve Spagnuolo's
That's
defense
outrageous.
and absolutely
I know, he
dialed
looks-
everything
he's looked
up
so good,
and
man.
looked incredible.
He doesn't turn the ball over.
Aaron Jones is supposed to be back tonight.
Jones isn't playing tonight.
Okay,
Jones is out.
Dylan's
AJ
still
Dillon.
fine.
I know Dylan, and he was really good last week against Kansas City.
And you're going to ride with
Christian
Thomas
Watson's
Danny
out.
DeVito.
Aaron Jones is out. Alexander.
I
like
think
you
that
said.
Christian Watson injury is going to be big because the last couple weeks, who's come up with a big play for this guy time and time again? It's been Christian Watson. If he's not on the football
Hayes,
field,
lock
someone
it in
else is going to
then.
have to step up.
I'd like
No, no,
Hayes
no.
to say it. Can you lock it in?
Here's what I'm going to do. This is how much I love my partner. I want to bring him with me all the way to the promised land. TG is tremendous information plus gut instinct.
Look at him, Noodles. Look at him. You can't
Giants plus 5.5 for a 1 spot. We'll lock it in.
That's all you're taking?
That's what we're going to do right
Come
now.
on, get
That's
the
what-
extra
Look,
winning
That's
look
what
at
we're gonna
Doogie's
do.
face. Doogie can't even believe you.
Doogie's screaming
This
in
is
the
the
background.
low point of your gambling career.
Okay, give me until the end of the
No.
show to think about it. All right, Al's brother, we'll figure this out. You guys got to pick your game.
Yeah, you
Minus
guys got
14
any-
Miami.
You got any deals for us or
No, because you're going to take the Dolphins.
Yeah. What, you got any deals?
No.
No, it's minus 14. That was 13.5.
No, it's minus 14, right? Doogie?
14.
14.
That's fine. Well,
You're still taking Miami. They're going to win by 40 tonight.
I don't know if they win by 40. I think it's going to be a sweat in the first half, but I think they get up late. I think Levis throws a pick. I think it's going to be. I'm going to be fielding a lot of texts, being like, "Looks like a cover. Looks like a cover," and they're only up 10, and then
Okay.
late in the game they get one.
So you're taking Miami for 1? Okay.
But I'm willing to wheel and deal.
We don't need to right now. Next week's the week. We're
There's
dash
no
8.
in-season tournament.
Next week there's an in-season
You're
tournament
gutless.
for points on the side. We're gonna get creative. Doogie, the creative juices are flowing. I can already see it. back there.
3.5 points to the G-men. 2 wins.
I'd rather bet on the Packers.
Okay.
That's the thing. I'd rather, but I agree
7.5.
I agree with
2
the logic
wins.
of Al's brother. They have won 2 games in a row in New York. They've been getting better.
So then would you take, no, you said you want, I'll give you Pack 7.5. I had it 9 earlier in the text thread, 7.5 or 2 wins?
See, I'll for 6.5,
Wow.
I would do it.
Get out of here. 6.5?
That's still a point.
Even if you win 2 games, there's no way you come back.
All right, then it doesn't matter.
Then
Then
give it
it's
to
erroneous.
us. Then give it to us.
Yeah, exactly. If it doesn't matter
I'm not
anyway.
giving
We'll
you
take
4. I'm
6
not
and a half.
giving you 4. Now you're
We'll
going to
take 6.5. We'll take the Pack. You give us 6.5. We'll take the Pack.
Absolutely
or we're taking
not.
the
Gutless or
G-Men.
not gutless?
You're gutless.
Okay, you.
Hey,
all right, fine.
You
Never
can't
mind.
claim a Packers fan after making this pick.
Dude, I'm
you have
sick
to,
over this.
all of your
it's
Packers
deja
stuff at
vu.
home.
It's the same thing.
It has to go.
Listen, as I said, youngest team in football. What Noodles said, I agree with everything he said. Press clippings, emotional win. Now you're in New York, Monday Night Football.
This
The Giants
is
have been
shocking.
better.
I can't believe
It's-
this.
Give him the 6.5. Why
I
not, though?
played like scenarios in my head. Had none of the scenarios had Al's brother taking the G-men tonight and Hayes
Hey.
agreeing.
Dude,
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
know what to
concerned
say.
about that.
I'm sick over
dumbfounded.
that. Well, this is why Doogie jammed me. I didn't want this game. Like, why are we on the Packers?
I
Well, there
just
was a
get-
$1,000
How about that's the
handshake.
deal?
I
Flip
just
it.
gifted you.
You can take the
No.
Packers. You
no,
take the
I
Packers.
gifted you 2 wins, and you said, I don't want them. I'd rather the loss.
Okay.
That's what you said.
Never mind. It's done. Al's brother, TG. TG, Al's
TG?
brother.
Oh,
TG. TG, Al's
Not
brother.
good.
All right.
good.
G-Men
Not
plus
good.
5.5. You guys are on the Dolphins minus
Very
14.
concerned.
In-season tournament next week. We can't wait for it. All right, Luke.
right.
Good seeing you. Al's brother. We've already flushed him off the screen. Al's brother
Yeah.
disappeared.
You flushed him. You
Yeah,
pressed the button.
I
Oh,
can't
boy.
believe
That was an eject button.
This
for
was
Al's
this
brother.
in all honesty. This was another challenge for him as a teammate because remember what happened a couple of weeks ago. I wanted the Packers. I said on national TV they're going to beat Kansas City. I gave him the opportunity to give me tremendous information,
And he folded.
and he folded. And now we've gone back to the well, and he's doing it to me.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
you
he's
had,
jamming
I
you
just
up.
gave you like a great offer. 2 points for 2 games, 3.5 on the G-men.
I don't want to bet on the G-men, but
But you are.
if
You
I'm going,
already are.
if I'm going to, I'm going to take more points.
Even if you guys win
Like-
both games tonight, so you're +8 with 25 to go.
Yeah.
You really think you can make that margin?
Yes,
up?
I absolutely
We would
do.
like you are dependent on us falling off a cliff.
And I believe that will happen. I believe you guys are blurry now. I don't believe the vision.
I just
still-
got to hit singles from here on out.
I think
Doing
you
2
guys-
every weekend.
No,
Doing
man.
2 every weekend does it.
Do the math. You guys hit singles.
I
We're
did
gonna
the
hit grand
math today.
slams. It's all good.
I love
Lock it in.
Do the math.
Do the math. Giants, Dolphins. Those are your picks tonight.
I'm sick for you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, there's Luke Willson. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel. Chris Johnston coming up in about a half an hour. Leafs in New York playing the Islanders tonight and then against the Rangers tomorrow. So back-to-back at the Garden. You got the Raptors, Knicks tonight, and then Leafs, Rangers tomorrow. This be a
Marty
great road
Jones
trip,
get this.
man.
You think Marty Jones plays?
I think he should tomorrow, wouldn't you
Rangers?
say? I mean, it's not much of a travel. I guess Samsonov could play.
No, I know, but the Rangers are the better team.
Right.
Right.
But Samsonov's going tonight.
I know, but if you wondered if you save Samsonov for tomorrow, Jones has only played 5 games this season. He's traveled a lot. Like he traveled with the team to Sweden. He's been there. Like he played well coming in for Woll the other day. Like,
Yeah, he did.
Played
Yeah,
very
he
well.
did.
Made a couple big saves. He's a veteran of 445 games, so it's not like he doesn't know how to play. And I thought he was a good signing. I was kind of bullish on him at the start of the year, thinking if they could sneak him through waivers, that's the reason why. Because he's a bona fide NHL goalie that can come up. He's not a 3. He's really kind of like a 1B type of thing. He was a starter for many, many years. But him going in the Garden against the Rangers, that's a tall task.
Yeah, Rangers have been great this
They've
year.
been really good.
It does feel like the Leafs are saying we got to get tonight,
Yeah.
and then it's
See how it goes
house
tomorrow.
money tomorrow if you can find something.
And I think too, this is about building Samsonov back up.
Right.
Right
Yeah,
after a
that's
really
fair.
tough start.
Yeah.
Like they got to get this guy's confidence back because it's been in the dumps. Right.
And they need him.
yeah,
too.
they need him badly
Yeah.
with
him.
Wall
Hey.
Wall week to week. We don't know how long Wall's out. I mean, who knows?
What was it? High ankle sprain?
sprain, like
4 to 6, right? That
probably at
on
least a
average.
month for sure.
That's
Yeah.
big.
4 to 6, but like that position, it's not skating, it's strength pushing side to side.
I don't remember hearing a goalie get a high ankle sprain.
Roberto Luongo, I think, had one. Trying to remember when.
it looked
it wears on you.
It looked like hip or groin or whatever.
Yeah.
Just like the way, I guess it was post to post, like the way that he missed his post or something is the way they described it. But it's not an injury that's usually conducive to goaltending. Not that it doesn't matter now. He's got it. That's what it is. But when I saw a high ankle sprain, I was like, how did that happen?
It's concerning, right? Because he's had a few injuries through the years. He had a shoulder, I think it was last year.
He's had a shoulder. He's had injury issues.
Yeah.
Like Joseph Woll, that's hurt his development a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But he's, a good young goaltender, 25 years old. But that, any type of, like he was in a groove.
Yeah.
Now he's out of a groove because he's going to have to, rehab, get that. You're not going to hit the ground running again. He's going to have to jump on a moving train because you now add another 4 to 6 weeks from this point on.
Mm-hmm.
That's when, we're through the first quarter of the season where a lot of the junk gets weeded out. We just talked about it. The Leafs are settled their game down a little bit or are heading in that direction. A lot of teams are starting to stabilize a little bit as far as rosters, and you get into more habits in your game where it was the first kind of quarter, it's ugly and there's, high-scoring games and stuff. If he has to jump on a moving train, it's going to be a lot harder to do.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying he won't be able to do it and isn't capable of doing it. It's just a little tougher coming back.
Well, and the door's open for Samsonov, too, to be in a different spot when he does return.
Yep.
Like the reason the door was open for Wall was because Samsonov had struggled as much as he had, where if he starts finding his game here, like you were saying, Dave, and he starts building confidence, Wall can return, but guess what? He's back in a tandem.
Right.
Where a few days ago, he had established himself as the one until he played himself out of it or Samsonov caught up. Now I think everything will reset. Unless Samsonov's a mess between now and then. And if that's the case, the Leafs are in big trouble.
That's going to be trouble.
They need Samsonov to return to form. And it could not have started any better than Saturday night. A quiet game. He made the stops he was supposed to. He gets out of there with a shutout and a win. That's a perfect start.
Yeah.
And if it carries over to tonight, the talent's still in there. He had a great season last year. Like he was phenomenal for them last year during the regular season. If he can get back to that form, they will not miss Joseph Wall. It'll be a bonus when he returns. Yeah. And you speak, Martin Jones, like you said, if
He's
Jones
not a scrub.
if he can step up and give him some wins, which should be expected, you're being paid, you're a pro, and you got a good team in front of you. This shouldn't end anything just because Joseph Wall's out for a month.
One of these guys should be able to step up and give you number one minutes. Jones has been a one in the league. Samsonov is trying to be a consistent guy who can play 50-plus games. So I would deem it as a healthy competition.
I was going to say, could you picture a scenario where a month from now people are saying send Samsonov down instead of Wall? Or instead of
I don't want to get crazy.
Jones?
I don't want to get crazy, but I'm just saying that if you look at Martin Jones, his play for Seattle last year, I think he played 48 games, played quite well. That was a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
He was a big part of that. They kind of snuck in this signing. And because of the way the contract, there was a bonus
booby trap.
There was a little, like you said, a booby trap. They bought themselves some real good insurance because there's a lot of teams that depth is being challenged or their goaltending just hasn't been good enough. If Jones can give them some stable goaltending, it's a good situation because now you don't have to just run Samsonov, and if he hits the ditch, you're like, okay, what are we doing here? Like two of them can play off of each other. I think it's a better situation than people think.
No, exactly. It was really sound wisdom. I think they probably felt fortunate he got through waivers, but probably in large part because of the small print, the money, and the bonuses, which is what they should be able to do. They have that kind of money.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of teams are not. Yes, exactly. There's a hard salary cap. Fine. You get burned. The Leafs would prefer to spend more money than they do, but use whatever loophole you can to your benefit.
Yep.
And has the ability to be a really good signing. And you look at the way people are reacting now, or I think they should be in terms of the Treliving signings. Klingberg was a big miss, but they've gotten out from under it, right? I don't want to say they're lucky. He got injured. That sucks for him. But he's on long-term IR. He's out of the picture. That money becomes available.
Yeah, it's a wash.
Ryan Reeves, is what he is. It hasn't been great. But I think Max Domi's played really well. I thought he was great the other night. Mm-hmm. I thought he played great. Well. And I think Tyler Bertuzzi is coming alive.
Starting to see.
I've really liked his game recently. And if Jones is a guy that's working, Laguson's been pretty good. Benoit's been pretty good. All of a sudden, the guy who's not Dubas, and Dubas is giving pressers down there basically saying, I don't know what the hell we're going to do.
Putting out fires.
Oh, he's got to fall on the sword for Mike Sullivan.
Yeah.
Like he's given the vote of confidence to the head coach down in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And, Treliving and the Leafs are in a pretty good spot.
Well,
Yeah,
I
sure.
said this to one of the TSN producers this morning. GMs aren't idiots. Like Ken Holland, like for 3 weeks ago, people were like, this guy's an idiot.
Right.
Edmonton's won 7 in a row. He's not an idiot anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He's a seasoned, veteran GM. Same thing with Brad Treliving, with Kyle Dubas. All
Yep.
these guys have been around the block. They understand not every signing's going to hit. The timing of things is not going to work out. You have to make big decisions. But you're right. You're pointing to some of the things where maybe you allow, if you ask Brad Treliving, well, is Tyler Bertuzzi going to hit the ground running? Sometimes his new environment takes a little bit to settle in. Max Domi, same situation. Ryan Reeves is what he is, but he knew exactly what he was signing. Like, I want that dynamic in my dressing room and add team toughness. Klingberg, there's an injury. Who knows if Klingberg would have found his game or not? We won't know. Unfortunately, not everyone's going to be a hit.
And it doesn't matter now. He's on long-term IR.
It comes back to, it's like, okay, maybe the manager had a plan all along, and now it's starting to settle back in. And same thing with some of these other organizations where, the team you expected to be on the ice has probably showed up now, as opposed to like what you were seeing previously. So that's kind of my point, is like, Treliving does deserve some flowers for some of these moves that he made, including the Martin Jones one.
Well, for sure. And I don't know anybody who could really start criticizing a guy who gets the job at a pretty late date, right? Like, this all went down.
That's true.
Just before the draft,
Just
really.
before the draft.
Isn't it like June 15th or something crazy like that?
So, the idea that, you're going to just rake this guy over the coals because he's got to talk about boarding a moving train, the moving train of the offseason, when you got to analyze what this team is, and you haven't been here like the rest of us watching it every night for 7 years.
Yeah.
And then, make the big decisions, as you say. Like, Ryan Reeves, yes or no. Tyler Bertuzzi, yes or no. Not easy decisions to make.
Yeah.
And most of them are one-year deals.
Right.
Outside of Reeves.
And listen, Treliving will make mistakes. He's made mistakes. Like, that's no one's suggesting he's perfect. But, he was in a tough spot in the eyes of some people because, they wanted Dubas to stick around. Well, that wasn't Treliving's decision.
No.
Like, Dubas took himself out effectively and got a job down in Pittsburgh. And I'm not here dumping on Kyle. I thought a lot of the moves he made were sound moves in the offseason in Pittsburgh, but they haven't worked out. Like, that team looks a little bit older. They're slower. They got no money now. I think Dubas is in a position where he was trying to hold on to anything they had with Sid and Letang and Gino.
Right.
And it hasn't worked for him. And, so be it. We'll see what Kyle does. And Kyle's been there. He hasn't been there that long either. And Kyle's not going anywhere anytime soon. He will be in Pittsburgh for a long
7-year
time.
deal.
He's got a long time to figure that out. But, Treliving is a guy who's been doing this for a long time. It's obviously a collective within that front office. Shanahan has his fingerprints over everything, too.
Yep.
He's heavily involved in a lot. That staff in general. And again, I think if you're a Leaf fan at this point, you're like, okay, there's been some wins, there's been some losses, but overall, they're still a pretty good team in a pretty good spot. And if they can overcome some of these injuries and the defensive problems.
Well, and he's not done, too.
Well, that's the thing.
He's got work to do still, right?
And he will. Just like Dubas did in years past, Treliving will undoubtedly do that in the future. This team, the day after the trade deadline, will look different. And that's when you can really analyze, okay, are they capable of doing damage?
Right.
Can they win in the playoffs? We'll know that more the day after the trade deadline. Chris Johnston on that and more in about 20 minutes. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Chris Johnston will join us in the next hour, but some of the Shohei Ohtani contract details are coming out. Jeff Passan tweeting, among others, that Ohtani's $700 million contract calls for him to be paid only $2 million a year for the next 10 seasons, and $680 million will be deferred until the end of the deal. So this guy's going to make $2 million a year and then have $680 million pushed back to beyond his playing days.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's going to be paid without interest from 2034 to 2043.
So that's probably, that might have been, if you look at it just thinking out loud too, maybe that's the Dodgers saying, we'll get you to 700. Maybe they were at 600 and they said, we'll give you an extra $100 million. but we need to defer the money interest-free for X amount. Like, they might have had an accountant working up the numbers going, we'll give you the equivalent of 700, but this is how it's going to look.
Right.
$2 million for here, and you get 680 on the back end. Like, something crazy.
Listen, in the end, if Ohtani gets $700 million or whatever, whether it's today or in the next 15 years, this guy, he's not sleeping on the street. It's not a concern.
No.
I think he'll probably get a line of credit from a few banks, but
And he makes like $40 million in endorsements.
he makes a ton in endorsements.
Yeah.
It just like this allows them, I guess, to avoid luxury tax because they're paying Betts, they're paying Freeman, they're paying others.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if Ohtani's doing this, why aren't other players doing this?
Right.
Yeah.
Why hasn't this been happening with other players? And if it's an international player thing, okay, I understand that. Americans
Right.
are maybe separate. But why are more Latin American players doing it? Why are Canadian players doing it? I don't know.
Well,
I mean, $700 million is obviously different. It's the largest contract we've ever seen. But this guy's making $2 million a year.
That is like it is.
Like, what is
like
going on here?
Soft cap
He's going to be
violation.
making. He's going to be making $68 million in his 40s.
Right.
In the deferred
I
salary.
guess he'll
era.
be making a lot of cash at that point.
Yeah.
But you got to think it's a loophole of some extent.
Yeah, I would love to know the reasoning behind that loophole or
Right.
what they're doing there.
They're saying it.
Something's
they're spinning
going
it.
on here.
They're spinning it so that they can keep spending.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, now we can actually afford.
Funny how all the
guys.
reporters that couldn't get a peep out of this guy, now they can't wait to
it's
pump his
open
tires. Oh, he's Robin Hood. He's doing this. Hey, you hear about that? Now they got all the details. Funny how that plays out. All right, final hour coming up. The Leafs and Raptors in action, a two-pack in the NFL as well. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.